So this is going to be totally not scripted, completely unrehearsed, and this is all about the Nothing Phone 3. Now I was going to rush and make a video all about my experience and, you know, put together all of my kind of thoughts and feelings and trying to turn it into a bit of a, you know, cinematic masterpiece as we all try and do here on YouTube. But for a change, I kind of just thought, you know, we're going to be dropping this around the time the embargo lifts, which means everyone is going to be releasing their video about, you know, their condensed thoughts. So I thought I'd just sit down. There's going to be no like stupid amounts of like extra footage and B-roll clips and cool cinematics or anything. I just thought we'd sit down and chat about the Nothing Phone 3. And hopefully this video is interesting to you. Hopefully there's some little tidbits that I've picked up along my use of this phone for the past week or two. Yeah, so I've just got a Google Keep with all of my thoughts about this phone, and we're going to run through it really, starting off with the design, the size, and the shape. The design of it is very reminiscent of an iPhone, with purely focusing on the outer rails, because the outer rails feels very iPhone-esque. Like, you couldn't tell the difference if you were holding something else. The thing that does give it away a lot is this extra Essentials button, which is this kind of silver button on the side here, which is superly, if that's a word, awkwardly placed. Super awkwardly placed, because I hit this button so many times when I'm trying to pick up the phone that it just triggers the essential space thing, and I'll get onto what that is exactly. Nothing themselves told me that
since launch, 1 in 5 users are engaging with it weekly. It's actually, to be honest, more than we expected.
And I just wonder whether that's by choice or whether it's because they're just picking up the phone and triggering it, and therefore it's using the essential space. So I will just put that out there. The back button also, which has, you know, on the back here, we've got this beautiful Marmite, love it or hate it, design. It has this extra haptic button which you can push to trigger this, you know, the new glyph matrix feature they're calling it. And it's fun, but it does require quite a fair like push to activate and, you know, to spin the bottle. I'm pushing quite hard to trigger that. Also, who plays spin the bottle with like $1,000 phone? It seems a bit strange. Or sorry, $800, $900 phone. So in terms of the design shape, it's very, very good, very, very comfortable to hold. You've got Corning Gorilla Glass Victus on the screen. It's IP68 rated. It's not IP69 rated, which I don't know, I'm probably a bit disappointed about, because lots of phones coming out now are IP69 rated. I would compare this phone a lot to the OnePlus 13, because very similar price point. OnePlus 13 is ever so slightly cheaper, but IP69 rated. Now, if you haven't guessed it already, this isn't going to have like a ton of tech specs in, because I assume you watching this video means you probably know the tech specs already. You know, they've all been leaked, and not leaked, it's all been, you know, announced already by Nothing. And then I guess let's talk about that back, because the back is very, very different. I've seen a lot of people say that they hate the design, even previous lovers of the Nothing design phones. You know, we have, you know, these kind of other designs of the older phones, and people are saying that this is just a complete miss, apparently. But in my opinion, phones are, and this is like the whole point behind things with Nothing, is that the phones are getting very, very boring. It's just a slab that looks pretty much the same between like every manufacturer nowadays. And whilst I did say Nothing feels very familiar in the hand with the, you know, the rails around the outside, it's very familiar size and shape. The back, you cannot say is not different. It is one of the most polarizing designs that I have seen for quite a while online. People either love it or they hate it. I kind of like it because it's different. And the people I know buy these phones want to buy these phones because they are different. I'm Matt, who works with me here. He is very much an iPhone user, but when asked about if he would buy an Android phone, he said, yes, if I did have to, it would be a Nothing phone because it's different. You know, people don't want to necessarily go from an iPhone to an Android version of an iPhone. If they want to change, they want to like radically change to something else. So I do quite like this design. You know, the camera design is very different to anything else we've seen, kind of like 2 eyes and then 1 off up here. You've got the glyph matrix off in the corner, and you have this extra like haptic button. You've also got a record LED on the back. So when you're recording video, you can see that light up and flash. And then you have the actual flash of the camera. You can also use the glyph as a torch, like a very, I guess, dim torch, because it's not that bright. Now, I have seen a lot of thoughts and comments about you could put a screen on the back. They could put a screen on the back because then it would be higher definition than what you've got there. But again, this is like totally Nothing design. This is like, what else would you expect other than these kind of dot matrix displays? Because that is what they have on all their other phones, and all their, like the font of Nothing is dot matrix. So kind of makes sense. So design, again, love it or hate it, it is there. Now, in terms of Nothing OS, so the actual software the phone runs itself, I do have a few thoughts about it. Now, you do initially get the option to have like the Nothing OS theme, or you can use like the regular theme. And the Nothing OS theme is good. It's very minimalistic, you know, everything's kind of black and white, and it's kind of it is good, just like Carl Pei said on stage, to be this like minimalist, no distractions, very simple interface, which I agree with. I just can't get on with it because every time I go look for an app, I can't find it because they all look the same because it's, you know, black and white. So that's my only thoughts really on the kind of whole theme. The essential space, let's chat about that one briefly. So the essential space is this button here. So you take a screenshot of whatever's on the screen by pressing this button, and then you can either leave a little voice note with it, or you can type a little note with it, and it will extract information from that screenshot. So I use this a ton on the Nothing Phone 3A, and this was really, really useful. But it is really useful because if you're going to an event, you're traveling, you know, you've got QR codes, you've got itineraries, all this kind of stuff that you would otherwise be going into your emails to pull out and open the PDF each time and figure out what time you need to be where and the code to get on the train and all this kind of organizational stuff. You can put this in the essential space by taking screenshots, and then it organizes everything for you in there and extracts information. So it gives you a task list. So remember, at 4:10 p.m. you need to be doing this, and you need to be dressed smartly, so make sure you wear something, you know, all these kind of things that it pulls out and puts in there. But like I said, the button on the side, super annoying. It would be nice if the button was like out the way somewhere so you don't inadvertently push it by mistake. That's my only real comment on the essential space button. Kind of like, I guess, where the slider is on the OnePlus. Would be nice to have like the alert slider, the button there instead, or where the, you know, the iPhones was an action button nowadays that you've got to tap out the way. The essential search, which is their, I guess, AI feature that Nothing has, which is a search bar, which I've displayed at the very bottom of my phone here. So I can just go down there, tap, and then type in to launch any app that I want. I can also search and ask it questions, and the AI will directly give me answers rather than me having to go and, you know, open ChatGPT or open up Google Gemini or whatever it is and go and ask the questions in there. I can do it all directly from there, which is very, very useful. What else do we have? Okay, so brightness and battery. Now, I have some thoughts. There is a 5150 milliamp hour silicon carbon battery, 6000 milliamp hour silicon carbon battery. And it is, I would say, in the hand, it feels a lot thicker. Not that I'm trying to put this directly up against the OnePlus, but I just feel that for a phone to have 1000 less milliamp hours than this phone, it shouldn't be thicker, surely. Just one of those things. But what I do like about it is it charges faster than an iPhone, at least. It's 65 watt fast charging, so that is very, very useful. The battery also, even though it's only 5100 milliamp hours, it is a pretty awesome battery. I'm currently on 65%, and it's 4:20 in the afternoon here in the UK. And I'm normally down to like 40 to 50% between bedtime. And, you know, screen on time, I don't normally do that whole screen on time thing because it can vary wildly depending on day to day. I rate the battery by, does it last all the way up until when I go to bed? And some of these phones I can kill before I get to bed, or they get into like the you know, single digit numbers. This phone, double digits every time before I go to bed. So that is really, really useful. Around bedtime, my other thought around the battery is there is wireless charging, but there's no like Qi 2 magnetic wireless charging. So lots of my chargers around the house. In my car, I have a magnetic charger so I can just stick it and know it charges. That's kind of frustrating that's missing. Now, OnePlus doesn't have that as well, but they do have cases which do have a MagSafe or like a Qi 2 charging ring on it. The Nothing Phone does have a case. It's like this clear acrylic case, which is great because it obviously shows off the design, but it does not have any coils in it, or it does not have any magnets in it. So that's like a big miss, I feel, from the Nothing Phone. And we're treating this as a flagship, right? Because this is the Nothing Phone's like first era into the flagship devices. You've got the flagship Phone 3 and you have the flagship new headphones as well, which we can touch on in just a moment. Now, in terms of the screen, it is 4,500 nit peak brightness. I will say it doesn't feel like it's that bright when I'm outside. It's bright enough to kind of see things mostly clearly, but other devices I've used just feel like they're brighter. I don't know if that makes sense. And I will say that it takes a while for the screen to actually brighten and dim. So when you do walk into like a bright room or you walk outside, it will take, I don't know, something like 3 seconds, 5 seconds for it to like slowly like increase the brightness, which may or may not be a problem. You know, most of the time I'm just kind of like, cool, you wait and it happens and it's not a problem at all. But people like to be picky with these things, so thought I'd mention that as well. AI. I have a section in here about AI because it's on every phone nowadays. So AI, there are no photo editing features to remove things. Now, I always complain about AI and say AI features are useless. I actually went to edit something for the first time ever to like remove something from a photo and realized it doesn't have those features, so can't do that. Also doesn't have any of the AI kind of pixel googly cool screening features. So cool screening, hold for you, those kind of things, which the iPhone is coming to the iPhone now in the beta format. You've got Google has the feature, Samsung has that feature as well. So shame it doesn't happen with the Nothing phone. However, what I will say, and Nothing have been very clear here that they're not really focusing on AI features. They're focusing on hardware first. However, Carl did say when he was on stage that he is now this year or this coming year looking to move that focus over to the software side of things. So whilst the software might be rough around the edges, they are literally looking to double the size of their software team so they can now focus on software and less on hardware. That's the idea. Cameras. Cameras are always a very popular one. Now, I will preface this by saying that my opinion of cameras is you cannot really buy a phone with a bad camera nowadays. If you are one of those persons that likes to take a photo and then compare it to another phone and then nitpick about the differences, and that's not me, that's not here. This channel is not that. Snap a quick photo, your kids are moving around fast and you can snap them in action and you can get those photos and you can take photos of memories that you look back on in like 20 years time and go, that was a fun moment. That is like my opinion of photos, because I do not look back on photos that I took 10 years ago and go, that like edge detection around the ear wasn't that great at the time, was it? That was a rubbish camera. And well, we're talking about like 15-year-old photos now that were shot on essentially potatoes at the time. And I still don't comment about the quality of the photo. You go, that was such a good time when we went and did that, and those people came with us. So that's where I'm coming from with the cameras on this phone. So you do get 4K 60 on all 4 lenses. So that's 3 on the back, 1 on the front. The telephoto, I believe, also doubles up as a macro, which does 10 centimeters away. So I'll throw up a few sample images on the screen whilst we're talking about this. Like I said, you do get the record dot on the back whilst you are recording. And I would say the cameras are fairly solid all around. There's no real issues saying that. There is an issue. The only issue I've really had with cameras is when you're trying to zoom in. So it's the AI super zoom feature, which gives you up to 60x. So the telephoto is a 70mm equivalent lens, and it gives you 3 times optical zoom and then right up to 60x, which is digital super, AI enhanced zoom. And as you can see here, which I'll show you on the screen, I tried to take a photo of my reflection, and as I zoomed in and used this super zoom, it just starts turning into a oil painting. So not that keen on the big old super zoom camera features. However, I did take these shots outside of the Nothing launch event with Darius. I don't know if anyone follows his channel. I'll link it down below. Darius was doing some breakdancing or a little quick pose outside the Nothing thing, and I took some burst photos. And these are what they look like, and pretty good. Froze motion, caught the moments, loads of claps and cheers from people around us. Very cool. And also you do get autofocus on the front-facing lens. Very cool. Now, in terms of the speed and performance, this does run the Snapdragon 8S Gen 4 chip, which I think is a 4nm chip. And the comment on this I hear and feel and see is it's not the Snapdragon 8 Elite. And to those people, I would say the phone doesn't feel slow at all, but equally, the Snapdragon 8 Elite, I don't understand why they're still doing the Snapdragon 8S Gen 4. I kind of thought the whole point of the 8 Elite was this is like their next generation of chipsets. So stop the 8S, whatever it is, and just move on to 8 Elite. Other thoughts are the 8 Elite are more expensive, but the Nothing phone is ever so slightly cheaper and has the 8 Elite chip in. So again, haven't ever thought the phone was slow. It feels snappy. I've reduced the animation speed to 0.5x by using the developer options, which has definitely helped things feel like it's snappier. But yeah, I just kind of thought the 8 Elite was the like Apple's silicon moment almost, where they switch the M chips and don't go back to the Intel chips. But hey ho. Connectivity. Excellent, no issues whatsoever. Tap to pay. Google Wallet currently prompts me every time I open it. There's a warning that this is a rooted device and it's not supported. So there's something very strange going on there, and I'm not too sure what's going on. Probably, hopefully, a software feature will fix that. A software update will fix that. But with that said,
the NFC reader works well when I scan into like gyms and that kind of thing with like membership cards. But I can't actually add any real payment cards on here because apparently my device doesn't meet the contactless security standards. It may be rooted.
I tap my phone to go into the gym every morning, and this is one of, I guess, very few phones that I don't have to sit there and kind of wobble around the phone until it finds a sweet spot. The S25 Ultra, I find is horrendous for that. You have to kind of sit there and get it in the exact right place, and if you miss it, you have to take the phone away and put it back again. This works first time, every time. Great. Haptics also okay. I will say the notification, the little tick tick that you might have heard whilst it's going on, I left it on for a reason. The little tick tick noise is very annoying. Like if you're sat there and you get like a load of messages, or you're in a group chat with lots of other creators that talk a lot of rubbish a lot of the time, it can go like tick 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 tick. can get very annoying very, very quickly. There we go. The glyph matrix, let's cover that off. Lots of people saying it's a gimmick, and lots of people would be right, but also lots of people would be wrong. It's kind of the whole point with nothing. The glyph matrix is there to be fun. I have found it interesting, fun, useful when I go to charge the phone at night. I plug the phone in because of the whole MagSafe wireless charging thing missing. I put it down on the table, and you can see there and then that the battery's charging at whatever percent it is, and it gives you that reassurance that the phone's charging, so that's another thing to know about it. They do say that 8 out of 10 people have it enabled. Again, I wonder if it's one of these things that kind of, do people just leave it enabled because it's just like enabled by default? Do you use it because you actually want to use it and it's fun to show off? I guess people using this phone want to show those features off because that's like one of the things about this phone is they want to show that feature off. Okay, so which model should you buy? So it is $799 for the 256 gig model, $899 for the 512 gig model. And I would say that the OnePlus 13 is £819 currently here in the UK, but Snapdragon 8 Elite, better cameras, it's thinner, you've got MagSafe on it as well. The only thing potentially about this phone is it's a bit boring because that is really the driving reason for people to buy this phone, that it is a fun, different, cool design phone. And obviously if you pair it with a pair of the new headphones, these are like the most difficult headphones to review. We had these for a couple of weeks before the launch, and you just, you can wear a pair of Sony headphones outdoors because no one really knows or cares or will notice, but you wear a pair of these outside, like people are going to know that they are a totally new and unique set of headphones. So things to like about this phone, I like the design. That's the kind of key leading factor around the Nothing Phone 3 here is the design. Fast charging, feels great in the hands. The percent LED on the back when charging is a nice little feature. You can obviously like spin the bottle and play like paper, rock, scissors and all sorts of fun things. And it has great battery life. Things to dislike, the screen takes a while to brighten when it's dim. It doesn't really work as fast as other phones. No MagSafe, that weird Google Wallet prompt at the moment. Keep hitting the essential space button. That is frustrating. It would be nice to move it somewhere more useful.
Another bug I've come to recently is the universal or essential search. Anytime I try and do it, it asks me to set a default search engine. I can select anything and it just doesn't ever let me get out of this screen. So I can't actually use essential search. This only started happening a couple of days ago or so. So yeah, it is pretty buggy still.
No AI features, although I know I complain about the AI features all the time, so there's just that. And I will say that the button on the back requires quite a lot of force to use it. So when you do want to like show it off to your friends, it's like he's really like pushing against it and like, the whole will this phone bend thing, and the no call screening thing. So those are my thoughts on the Nothing Phone 3. I know I haven't talked about the headphones, but I've been going on for 23 minutes already, so I feel like this video is going to be long enough. Let me know, is this like an interesting format? I'll do it with a few more phones that I don't really get time to make a fully produced video about, but just thought I'd put out my thoughts because I've got the phone, I've had it for enough time to really put my thoughts together. And let me know in the comments, what do you want to see next? Do you want to see the headphones? Do you want to see the flips and folds, which are being announced today or tomorrow? Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers. Bye-bye.